right, now that we've finished with ellipses, let's move on to hyperbolas, the other conic we focused on in this chapter. So hyperbolas, like ellipses, are a central conic, which means they have a center, and it's given as hk. They have a difference of focal radii rather than a sum, and it's still the same, equal to 2a, okay? And then they have foci, right? Just like an ellipse does and similar to a parabola, except these foci are like the parabola ones, so center of each branch of graph. Okay, so if your foci are on a horizontal axis, that means that your branches should be horizontally. And if you have foci that are on the vertical axis across each other, then the branches should be vertical. And then, like ellipses, they have two separate possibility for equations. They have a vertical major axis and a horizontal major axis. So for horizontal major axis, the equation is given as x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. So the big difference between ellipses and hyperbolas is that ellipses have a negative sign. Some of you got that confused in your quiz. One has negative, one has positive. Positive goes to the ellipse. It has a p in it, all right? And negatives go with hyperbolas. And then the way to figure out b squared, is with ellipses, it was a squared minus c squared. This time it's c squared minus a squared. Okay, some of you are wondering why you got negative values on your quizzes. It's because you mixed the order. And then its foci for a horizontal major axis are given as h minus c comma k, h plus c comma k. Okay, and on a horizontal major axis, you have asymptote, asymptote, and then hyperbolas there. Okay, for a vertical major axis, your graph looks like so. Okay, and your equation's given as y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. So if you haven't caught on by yet, a squared is under the positive term with hyperbolas, okay? And b squared you still find the same way. And the foci flip. So now we've got h comma k minus c and h comma k plus c. All right, so let's look at some examples. So we'll get to graphing later. First, let's look at finding the equation of hyperbola given the foci and focal radii. Okay, so if we look at 4a on the study guide, we've got the foci of square root 22, 0, negative square root 22, 0, and then the focal radii difference is 2 square root 6. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, just like with an ellipse, is find our center. This formula is exactly the same. We're going to use midpoint. So square root 22 minus square root 22 over 2, comma 0 plus 0 over 2 equals 0, 0, right? Okay, then we need to find a, which is 2a equals our difference of our focal radii, which is 2 square root 6. So a is square root 6, which means that a squared is 36. And we'll go under the x term because our foci change on the x coordinate. So we have a horizontal major axis. So this will go under x term, and is positive. And then we want to find c. Again, just like I did in the ellipse video, we're going to do distance formula for that between the center and one of our foci. So c will be equal to the square root of 0 minus square root 22 squared plus 0 minus 0 squared, which is equal to the square root of 22, right? And that doesn't reduce. So c is square root 22. It's not a nice number. So that means that c squared will be equal to 22. And so we need to find b squared, which is c squared minus a squared. Which is equal to 22 minus 6. A is not 30. A squared is not 36. It's 6. That's my bad. Okay. And that's going to be equal to 16, I think. Yeah. And then we plug in. So we've got x minus 0 squared over 6 minus y minus 0 squared over 16 equals 1. So our equation is x squared over 6 minus y squared over 16 equals 1. Let's look at another one. 4D. The foci are 2, -3, and 2, 7, and the difference in the focal radii is 8. First off, note that the y-coordinates of the foci are different, so this is a vertical major axis. And we want to first start off by finding our center, which is the midpoint. So 2 plus 2 over 2, and -3 plus 7 over 2. This is 2, 2. That's my center. Okay. Then we need to figure out A, which is 2a is equal to 8. A is 4. So a squared is 16. And this is going to go under the y term and is positive. Since, again, we have a vertical major axis here. 3, we need to find c, so we're going to do distance formula. So c is equal to the square root of our center, and the distance formula of our center and one of our foci. So 2 minus 2 squared plus 2 plus 3 squared is equal to square root of 25, which is 5. And so c squared is 25. And then b squared is just c squared minus a squared, so 25 minus 16, which is 9. And so then our equation will be x minus y minus 2 squared over a squared is 16, so over 16, minus x minus 2 squared over 9 is equal to 1. And that's our answer. Okay, and so hopefully this helps you guys out a little bit with figuring out these problems.